Welcome, Bahadir, to I don't know what episode of the Appregator podcast. We're really excited to have you here and to be chatting with you. I wanted to start off by asking, if you could tell a little bit about your story, what led you to the Shopify app ecosystem, what Fabrikatr is. That would be great, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, sure. My name is Bahadir. I've been a product manager previously in different companies in fintech, robo-advisory, and e-commerce. So we started Fabrikatr as a manufacturing planning software in 2018. So that's actually how we learned about the manufacturing side of the supply chain. And most of our customers were actually the suppliers for D2C brands. And that actually gave us the perspective, like how they differentiate from others, what is the need, what kind of a tech stack they have. And of course, like Shopify came out as one of the most popular solutions out there for the scaling D2Cs. That was our first step into the ecosystem.
Got it. Very cool. So it sounds like the idea came, roughly 4 years ago, and Shopify was a great channel that you could examine and try and sell through. Is it? Can you talk a little bit about the product itself and kind of what pain point you were solving for merchants?
Yeah, definitely. So Fabrikatör is the virtual head of operations for D2C brands that are just scaling, mostly between 1 to 25 million GMV they're making. And when you're scaling at that stage, your hands are full and you're always looking for extra help, especially on the operational side. But then someone also needs to take care of the strategic planning too. That's what a head of operations would do in a company like that, talking to marketing, trying to decide like how much marketing spend will bring how many sales, and then try to align the supply schedules with that, just to make sure that the inventory of the company is enough for supplying the demands generated by the marketing team. So that's what Fabrikatr does today. We link up growth projections for inventory forecasting and preventing the out of stocks. We make sure that every product is stocked at the right amount. When they're not in stock, we also have solutions to turn out of stock products into a revenue stream. So all in all, this is just a virtual head of operations that you would need in your company at the scaling stage.
That's super interesting. I think there are a lot of themes that we look at, tailwinds in the space of, replacing jobs with actual products that make it more accessible to smaller brands. And something like inventory planning is one of the hardest challenges that brands face today. And so it's super interesting to hear what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about, how the company was started. I know you have VC backing. Congratulations. That's really an awesome milestone. How did you think about, the team, the resources, the partners you needed to build this from the ground up, and launch it into what it is today?
When we started in 2018, it was fully bootstrap, and it was a different product. It was a manufacturing planning software. I was lucky to have my co-founder with me. We were friends from university. We both studied management information systems, but we took different paths in professional careers. He became a very successful software engineer, while I was more on the intersection of business and tech. I became a product manager, but that actually gave us the right combination for starting a SaaS business. After 2 years of bootstrapping, becoming profitable, we actually made a very bold move and decided to make a pivot. So we decided to jump from this side of the table, manufacturing side, to the brand side. So we wanted to solve the problem of the brands, because that would actually give us an opportunity to scale globally. Because manufacturing, if you want to sell tech for manufacturers, you really need to go local in terms of sales. But on the brand side, since most brands we are working with are digitally native brands, they're super ready to acquire a software that can actually fulfill a task for them. So we made that decision right before the pandemic started. And this actually, like that pivot decision, made us realize that we need external capital to actually scale up the company, because we needed different muscles. We wanted to establish the company in a way that can support global expansion. So for this reason, we started in Germany, Berlin, and we got backed by an accelerator called APX, which is a joint fund of Axel Springer and Porsche, the car manufacturer. They have a very cool early stage fund. And we pitched our solution to them. Of course, it changed a lot from the first pitch until now, because we talked to many more merchants since then. But the pitch was this: we know that if you build the right product, and if you have a channel like Shopify, we can actually piggyback on that. And the growth of Shopify can be our growth as well. In the fast growing ecosystems like that, there's always an underserved segment. And we identified this segment as growing D2Cs with a high number of SKUs. They're growing faster than the capability of the founders who can actually bootstrap things themselves. So we wanted to fill that gap. That resonated very well with the investors that we talked to, and Shopify was already a hot topic even before the pandemic, and during the pandemic it just skyrocketed. So yeah, that's the short story of the VC part of the business.
Super interesting, and it's always great to hear of a pivot that works out so successfully, in the VC business. One question for you that, curious as to your opinion on this. How have you found the Shopify App Store as a place to explain your product to the millions of merchants that are on it, educate them about what it is your solution can do that they're not currently doing today, and then coach them through that onboarding process? Have you found it to be incredibly hands-on? Has there been a lot of customer service back and forth? Like, how do you think through that for the other app developers who are out there struggling with the same thing and nailing their go-to-market? How should we help them think through that?
If you are building an app that already exists in the App Store, your job is easier to figure out the positioning of the app, because you know the keywords they're looking for. You can read the reviews of the other apps and craft your solution in a way that can actually make it easy for merchants to find. But if you're doing something like we do, saying that we're building a virtual head of operations, which is a non-existing category, and we are trying to build that category out there, it's always more difficult, because you need to either educate the segment that you're targeting, or find a smart way to communicate what you're doing by speaking the same language that they speak, instead of just throwing innovative terms like virtual head of operations. That's why if you look us up on the App Store, our name is Virtual Inventory Assistant, because putting Fabrikatör there or virtual head of operations would not make much sense in terms of search optimization, because these are not the words that they're searching for. And we started with a very simple feature like stock alerts, low stock alert. I know that anyone who has an inventory problem is first going for a stock alert. They just want to be informed if something is below the threshold so they can take an action. But that's not very proactive. It's the opposite of it. It's like you get notified when something is already below the threshold. But we focused on that problem. We released the app with a free plan that actually gave us an opportunity to connect with a lot of merchants. It was around the Christmas time when we launched it, and it was the busiest time for many stores, and also the holiday time. So the traffic was not as much. But then February, March, we started to get a lot of nice stores looking for a solution to plan the year ahead. And stock alerts actually became our first strategic keyword to bring the right customers. When I have them onboarded in the app, I was like, okay, you're looking for something simple. We have it, stock alerts. You can use it for free. But actually, there's a proactive solution too. We do forecasting, we do planning, projection, and everything. Want to take a look? And that's how I onboarded them to the innovative solution that we have. But we did not force market to search for the keywords that we were actually building. Right. Yeah, and App Store, like the first steps I took on App Store was basically going to Shopify community forums, and I looked up for the challenges people having, searching for like problems like how to manage inventory, how to create purchase order on Shopify, how to manage transfers. For example, inventory transfers is a painful thing on Shopify, and a lot of merchants are looking for a solution. So that was the first source of input for us when we were crafting the solution. Then I moved on to LinkedIn, Facebook groups where the merchants are. I joined the Shopify Slack group, D2C focused ones, couple of private groups as well. So that gave us the idea. And I always offered our product for free just to get feedback and build a solution as we are working as an IT team of that D2C brand, I would say. So that's how we found the right positioning in the App Store. And it wasn't painful. As a product manager, I would say I've worked in more difficult segments where you literally need to go on the street and ask people questions or randomly find your users. But the traffic is there. Merchants are on the App Store. Merchants are in the community. So just going straight up to them and asking them questions works pretty well when you're building an app.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And it sounds like the model of giving a simple free solution out to the market and seeing how they react to it and getting their, whetting their appetite for something like, oh, it'd be really helpful to have an inventory planning assistant. I never thought about that. That's an incredible sale to make because you're kind of bringing in a level of education that wasn't there before and adding the capability set. And so we, as Appregator, love talking to folks and looking at solutions that will save merchants time and money. You got to keep it simple, right? If I can make you more money or save you some time in whatever you're doing, like that makes a lot of sense. And I'm wondering if like Black Friday, Cyber Monday is a huge, period of the year for you guys, especially as the volatile swings in inventory can hurt merchants. Like, is that something that you guys staff up the team and have a bunch of people ready to go around those holiday seasons, or how do you think about that?
There is actually a delayed effect of that. Like if you have a lead time for manufacturing, like 3 to 6 months, actually the busy season starts already in summer, in the middle of the year. So now we are around these times. The merchants are planning ahead for the holiday season. So this is our busy time, I would say. When the Black Friday holiday season hits, they actually go silent with our app because they have so much in their hand to fulfill around the marketing campaigns and all. So inventory should not be the major focus during that time. We also learned it by working with merchants for the first year. We were late to pitch our software in the first place. We thought we should just pitch it like a month or 2 months before the Black Friday, but it was already late in terms of lead times. But one interesting thing you said in between, like making merchants, saving them time and money, we totally ignored the money part when we started the software. We were like, okay, this is going to be an efficiency tool. It will do automation, reporting, a lot of things that they can actually automate. But what is the outcome is mostly saving time and becoming efficient was not strong enough in terms of an USP. So then during the Black Friday, one of our customers came to us and he said, look, I created some purchase orders on your software. It is going to arrive a week later than the Black Friday, but I don't want to stop my sales. I also want to sell the exact amount that is incoming. So that actually light up a bulb in our head. It's like, okay, they benefited from the efficiency of creating a purchase order and planning with our app, but they're afraid of losing money. And for e-commerce, for the merchants, the most valuable that you think that you can offer to them is just helping them to make an extra buck today instead of offering an efficiency that will be visible in 9-10 months maybe. So we changed our approach, and instead of pitching the efficiency or forecasting, we started to pitch back orders because that's what they needed. There's an inventory that's incoming and they want to turn it into cash. They don't want to wait for it. They also don't want to oversell, and they want to communicate it clearly to the shoppers that this is a pre-order or back order, so they will not face with a huge amount of chargebacks when the shoppers are not happy with the delivery dates. So we took it as a very serious signal. I actually had to convince my co-founder to do this because he was like, no, we are a supply planning app. We are not going to touch the storefront. And I was like, if you don't touch the storefront, then you cannot help them make more money. We have to touch that part as well. If you were the head of operations in a company, you would go to talk to your IT to change something on the website to make it more profitable or capture some opportunity there. So if we are virtual head of operations, we should do that too. And that actually brought us a huge amount of growth since then. We launched this feature beginning of the year. my sales pitches were taking like 1 hour before, and now it's just taking 5 minutes because my proposal is to give them more sales instead of selling efficiency. Efficiency is important, but it
That's how
comes
you find
secondary.
product market fit, when the pitch takes an hour and then you turn it into 5 minutes. That's how you know it's working. No, that's fantastic. And listen, I imagine the supply chain disruptions, forced a lot of people to think very, very clearly about how they wanted to, deal with stockouts, back orders, pre-orders, etc. And so having a tightly integrated solution that matches your inventory with your storefront and then can, dynamically change whether the product is going to be delivered to you tomorrow or whether it's going to take a couple of weeks, as long as you let the customers know, they typically tend to be understanding. How has it been with your, I know your co-founder is the CTO. How's that process been, founding the company together and kind of navigating it together?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was super smooth for us because we've been building products for the last 10 years together. Since we are in university, we attended like a lot of hackathons and a lot of awards from these competitions. So we already have the muscles warmed up building things together. I think one of the key strengths that we have is always being transparent about what we think, to keep the relationship quite lean in terms of partnership as a co-founder. So he takes care of the technical part, building the product, and I take care of finding the business opportunities out there, spreading the word, doing the marketing and customer development side. So that's how we structured it. But of course, with such a small team, you always have to do whatever needs to be done. So sometimes we switch roles. Sometimes he takes more messages on intercom, replying to customer support, while I do some little technical stuff that I can do. So yeah. Got it.
And my final question for the podcast recording here, and thank you so much for your time. It's been incredibly insightful. What excites you? What's next? What's going on in the next 5 years for Fabrikatr that customers should be aware of?
From our side, the biggest excitement will be seeing Fabrikatör on one company's LinkedIn page as an employee. That's what I want to see. Like, we really literally want to fill that seat, virtual head of operations at ... company. And that's the picture that will make us super, super happy. But moving forward, in terms of product, to excite the merchants, we're working on aligning marketing plans with the inventory schedules by combining Google Analytics, Facebook Ad Manager data, and actually aligning these plans and making the life of marketeers and also supply chain planners easier. So that's the direction we are going for in the short midterm.
Good. Well, go. We can't wait to watch you get there. The second we start selling physical products, I will put Fabrikatr on my LinkedIn page as virtual head of operation, if that's helpful. But listen, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Bahadir. Thank you so much for your time. And as always, if you have any questions for us, let us know.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Mark.